N- Now, what are the most valuable dinosaur fossils ever found? Do you know like some of the
Yeah.
top record sales and why they sold for what they sold for?
Yeah, so that would be Stan was the first was the most expensive one ever sold. So that was $31.8 million dollars was Stan just sold a for a pretty much to settle a lawsuit between two brothers, Pete and Neil Larson. They had a falling out. They ran the Black Hills Institute. There's a lot of interesting paleo drama too we could get to, but
So curious now. I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, so Stan, the T-Rex, was found in, I don't know, like 1996 or something around that time, maybe a little bit after. And Stan has the most completed T-Rex skull ever. The body, Sue has the most completed body ever of any T-Rex. Uh, but Stan's skull is the most complete, and Stan is still like a 95% complete. I think Sue was 98% complete,
The
so just
body,
barely.
right?
Um, and so Pete and Neil Larson had some sort of falling out. I won't speak on their behalf or anything publicly, but from what is to gather pretty much the national news now because of the sale was that they had some sort of falling out, and to settle Neil Larson's equity in the company, the Black Hills Institute, which is a museum in Hill City, South Dakota. I believe the judge at least ruled that the selling of the T-Rex skeleton would be a fair selling off, as opposed to breaking up the entire institute and all of its collections and fossils, breaking that in half. It would be better to just sell the T-Rex and give that to the brother. And so when that was sold, I think it was estimated to sell at around $6 million, and that would be a fair sell off since the entire Black Hills Institute was valued at around $6 million for all of its collections, all of its fossils. But it ended up selling for $31.8 million. So one of the brothers was able to, walk away with that money. There were other people involved too, so it wasn't like he got all the 31.8 million. There was different uh, partners, so that was kind of
Taxes got half.
taxes. So, yep, taxes, and the Uncle Sam got a little chunk. Somebody else got a little chunk. The lawyers involved got a chunk, and with the whole lawsuit, so it was pretty much picked apart like a carcass. All the hyenas came in, and all the raptors came in and tore it apart. But
That's
but yeah, so there is kind of a curse with the T-Rex. There was a curse with it, and I believe the curse is real, where somebody always gets screwed in a T-Rex deal. If you have the king, you got to pay a price. So with Rexes that have been found, Victoria is the other T-Rex that's in Canada. It's been going on display on like a world tour kind of thing.
they're just
Uh,
picking it up and moving it from place to place.
yeah. So they have like a traveling exhibit. It's a really cool exhibit. If anyone listening in, if you want to go see it, if it's near you, it
That's
would be a
cool.
cool exhibit to see. I still haven't seen it yet, but you could see it on YouTube and stuff too. But so Victoria was actually is actually in a lawsuit with the landowners and the other guy who found it, and he's actually featured on Dino Hunters. So they talk about the lawsuit on the Discovery Channel show Dino Hunters. I think season 2 is airing right now. But so there's a lawsuit there between the landowners and this and the other guy that was wanting to find it, or who found it. He's I believe there's a dispute over the percentage of who gets what, right, of the Rex. And so so there's always, and again, Sue, Dinosaur 13, the documentary is really good. It tells you about the whole colossal mess that Sue was. Right, Sue was found by the Black Hills Institute, the same guys that found Stan. So Pete Larson got screwed over again. um, and he basically they Sue Hendrickson stumbled across the skeleton, and then she called the rest of the crew over, and then everybody excavated Sue, the T-Rex. They paid the landowner $5,000. They shook hands, and then they were going to have it in their museum. They were going to sell it for a giant amount. They were just going to have it in their museum for people to come in and look. And all of a sudden, the U.S. government, with guns drawn, M16s and everything, showed up and repossessed the T-Rex. And
Why?
because it was found on government land. Well, okay, so this
That's
is kind
what
of
they
long.
said. Right.
They found it on a rancher's land, Maurice Williams. Maurice Williams bought that land from the local tribe, the reservation. It was on the reservation.
Oh no.
So the tribe's like, that's our T-Rex, right? And the landowner's like, well, no, it's mine. And the tribe's like, well, it's still our reservation, so whatever say goes, right? And then the U.S. government was like, well, tribe, hold on. We gave that to you in perpetuity back in 1870, whatever. And so now we're going to repossess it. It was basically the tribe, and forgive me for anyone who's part
Showed
of
up
the
to the
tribe.
museum with like guns drawn or what?
Yeah, like U.S. Marshals. I believe it was like National Guard too. I
That
forgot it
seems
was.
so unnecessary. The T-Rex
Yeah,
isn't going to fight back.
yeah. It was totally ridiculous. It was a total clown show. It was tried to like this flex by, I forget if it's the state marshals or FBI, but it was the government that came in, the feds came in and pretty much repossessed it. And you could watch the video. Like there's guys, walking in with the
I'm gonna
M16.
look that up right after.
It
That's
was
crazy.
it was so if you want to look it up, watch Dinosaur 13 before you look up it. Like find that. It's a really good documentary. I encourage anybody to watch it. And so there's, with the point being is that with T-Rexes, from the monetary side of things, there's always some big lawsuit with T-Rexes if they're going to be sold privately, because people and the landowners.
How many T-Rexes are there?
There have been, at least up until that point when Sue was found in 1993, that was the 13th T-Rex found, at least by the Black Hills.
So very, very few.
Yeah, I think now it's maybe over 30 partial skeletons. So a partial skeleton is like 30% and above. That's the complete, that's the ruling on as far as if you can consider it a partial skeleton, it'd be 30% complete and above. And but with as far as, really good, like 60% and above T-Rexes, and maybe like 5 or 6, like I think 80% and above, like 80% and above, it would be like 5 or 6. So it'd be Victoria, Stan, Sue, Titus, who's on display in England right now. And I should be thinking about maybe a few others that are. Scotty, that's another one. So that's the biggest one by weight that is projected to be the heaviest T-Rex ever. So Scotty is on display in Canada at the Royal Tyrrell Museum. So there's like a handful of like 80% complete T-Rex.
How many more do you think are out there? Hundreds, thousands?
There was a paper that was out that just came out that projected how many T-Rexes ever existed. And they figured, okay, if a T-Rex needs 40 square kilometers to live, to roam, and if you project that out and project out the 40 square kilometers to the land mass, there's probably about 20,000 T-Rexes that were alive in North America, running around and eating at a given time. So if you were to go back in time,
right,
so and flying around the Cretaceous, you'd count about 20,000 that would be around. And it could be more. I mean, this was just a basic ecological projection.
Right.
Now, if
you're wrong about everything anyways.
Right. Yeah. So, if you were to measure out where T-Rex existed from 68 or 67 to 65 million years, 65 and a half million years, then you can't 20,000 T-Rexes at a given time. They lived at least like 30 years, lived to be about 30 years old. You'd count about 2 billion T-Rexes existed over the time of.
You said how many?
Like about 2 billion T-Rexes existed between 67 and 65.5 million years, right?
Whoa.
So if you project that out, then there could be conceivably, at the very minimum, hundreds of well-preserved T-Rexes to thousands that are still left to be unearthed. Now, easier said than done. If everybody could go out and find a T-Rex worth $30 million or more, then everybody would be doing it. But you don't find them. Like you don't find an 80-90% complete T-Rex. Like that doesn't always happen. It rarely happens. It's only happened 6 times or whatever in the last 150 years. So you're not going to come across something like that unless you're looking for it. So how many are preserved? It could be conceivably thousands that are still buried. But every bone that you find, not to go on a long tangent here, but everything that you find is fragments of bone that are spilling out of the hillside that are eroding away in a canyon, right? So you find bones that are, spilling out, that are eroding. That's how you could tell that there's possibly more bone underneath, and then that's how you excavate. That's where you dig. So when you're prospecting, you're looking for fragments of bone that are spilling out of the buttes or canyons, and essentially like it's difficult to find something. It's difficult to find a complete skeleton based off of that. So if the only part where we could find dinosaurs is the eroding pieces, that means that underneath the ground, deeper into these hills, there could be, complete skeletons that are still waiting 50 feet deep into the, into the earth, that are still waiting to be
Right.
uncovered.
It's just really expensive also to excavate that and not find it.
Yes, that's the gamble.
More likely outcome.
That is the gamble. You spend the money and the manpower and the time to excavate something, and you don't find anything. Maybe you find a couple bones. So that's what makes it, that's what makes it costly. Yeah.
It is like a real gamble, right?
Yeah.
And think about, even if you do find it, it can cost a lot of money to get it out.
Yes.
Pay everybody who's helping you, and then you could run into conflict on top of that. Like, imagine if you do all that and then the government says it's theirs, right? So they're all these other things as well. How do you know what's yours and what's not? Or is it like only if it's a $20 million item?
So you sign contracts with the landowner beforehand.
Before you even look.
Yeah, just to look. So you sign a contract with the landowner. You say, all right, this is granting permission for us to go on the land. And this is a contract that says anything that is found and sold, we get 90%, you get 10. That's the industry standard, is 90 to 10. Treebold paleontology, I believe that's what their standard is, like 90-10. They could negotiate a little bit more. For oil companies, to put in perspective, for an oil company, the industry standard is 24%. Some landowners could argue higher, like 30%. That's because you're constantly finding oil. So if I'm constantly pumping money out of the ground, and it's like an insured thing, basically, when you sell up an oil derrick, like you get money, you're pumping oil out of the, and so I'll give you 30%. I'll give you 25% because I'm making so much money. So landowner will give you, but finding a fossil, we may not even find anything. We're spending time going out, excavating, prospecting, and then we have to extract it, bring in heavy machinery if it's a bigger thing, and then the preparation time in the lab. So you get 10% because you're not doing anything, and there's no guarantee for me to find anything. So it's like 80 to 90% is pretty much what you want to negotiate when you're a fossil hunter. So if you're signing a contract, that's pretty much the valuation that you're giving, because it's not like an oil company where you're guaranteed to pump liquid gold out of the ground. So the fact that you may not find something and waste time,
It's all factored into that rate, right?
And some landowners don't get it. Some landowners will be like 50%, and then you just like laugh and walk away because that's just like ridiculous. No, like, no, you don't understand how this works. So
yeah.
So that's kind of a reality that you need to install on landowners. If they can't agree, they just walk away. I mean, some companies will walk away if they don't even agree to 10. It's 10, take it or leave it. 10%, take it or leave it, you know. And which makes sense because the landowner doesn't do anything. You know, some landowners may spot the fossil first and call you in and then say, well, I found it, so maybe we could negotiate a higher percentage if they stumbled across a fossil. That could make sense in some scenarios.
What would the split be for something like that on average?
That's the lawsuit with Victoria. I don't know anything about the lawsuit. Hold on. So somebody's trying to come in. I think it's but so
we'll wrap soon.
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics of the lawsuit. I met the landowners the other day who were in the lawsuit for Victoria, and I know that they're negotiating a much higher percentage than 10%. It's been written in articles before, so I'm not really divulging any information that isn't already out there. But I don't know enough information to speak on the lawsuit, so I won't.
That makes sense. Of course.
But the point is that they are negotiating a higher percentage, and I'm not sure what the basis of that is. But you and the listeners are more than welcome, of course, to go and
totally
go and look for it. So.